Hey guys, this is God's Beloved 101. So excited to be with you today. I hope you are excited as well. So, today we're going to be talking about something very, very exciting to me. I hope you guys will find it exciting as well. So, today we're going to be talking about, obviously, it's all about the love of God. And particularly, it's about the fact that, sometimes we think we love God, sometimes we think we like God or we went to God. But really, in actual sense, if you really think about it, you find that God is the one who comes to where you are. So today we're going to be talking about the fact that God comes to where you are. The Father comes to where you are. You're not the one who goes to the Father because, think about it. We're just mere men. We're fleshly. We're imperfect, and we're just not worth. So we're not worth anything really for us to say we can go to the Father, but He's the one who comes to where we are. And to really delve into this, I'm going to be using a revelation that I heard from Joseph Prince, is a man of God who preaches very good grace. And if you listen to him, you'd really be terribly blessed, like probably blessed. Yeah. So about the Good Samaritan, and most of you have probably heard the story thousands and thousands of times, and if you've been to, Sunday school or wherever, even in school, we learned about this story. And just for those who don't know about this story, it's just a quick background. Is that there's this guy who comes and then he's asking Jesus, and Jesus says, "Okay, what is written in the law? How do you read it?" This is from Luke chapter 10 and verse 27. And Jesus replied, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength and with all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself." Jesus said to him, so this guy was replying to a question that had been asked by Jesus. And then Jesus now said, "You have answered rightly. Do this habitually and you will live." But this is the lawyer the person was asking, wishing to justify and vindicate himself, asked Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" That's when he went into the parable of the Samaritan. And the parable of the Samaritan, really, it's basically a guy who was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho. And while he was going there, he met with some thieves and he was robbed. And then he was left half dead on the side of the road. And then a priest comes by, and then he sees this guy. Then he passes on the other side. He's just like, I'm not going to have any of this. And then he moves on along. Then a Levite likewise comes and then sees him, passes again. And then now a certain Samaritan. And by the way, Samaritans were considered to be enemies, not considered, they were actually enemies of the Jews, because the Jews didn't like Samaritans, they didn't get along, and they thought the Samaritans were just, faking everything, because Samaritans also tried to make themselves Jews, and then the Jews thought they were not Jewish enough. So the Jews and the Samaritans didn't really see eye to eye. So now Jesus now uses this Samaritan who was traveling, came, and then when he saw him, he was deeply moved and with compassion for this guy. And then he went to him and bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them to soothe and disinfect the injuries. And he put him on his pack animal and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And then on the next day, he took out 2 denarii, which is 2 days' wages, and gave them to the innkeeper and said, "Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I return." And then he asks now to the lawyer, "Which of these 3 do you think proved himself a neighbor to the man who encountered the robbers?" And he answered, "The one who showed compassion and mercy to him." And then Jesus said to him, "Go and constantly do the same." So from this story, when I was listening, I ended up realizing that, all of this time when we've been in Sunday school, we're told you should love your neighbor. And we always thought that the Samaritan is the one who was loving his neighbor. But in actual fact, if you really look at it, and after receiving lots of good revelation about the grace of God, about Jesus, you realize that it's all about Jesus, and Jesus is always hidden in almost everything in the Bible. And you find that this guy, if you really think about it, this guy who's half dead on the road is not just any guy. It's you, it's me. We were there half dead on the road and we didn't care, we were unconscious. And it's just like how, even the people of the world, when you look at them today, you find them, they just going on with life, they don't care, they think they're fine, and yet they're lost. But they don't care because they basically half dead, they're unconscious, they don't know what's going on. So they don't care, they're just there, they're half dead, really. And then Jesus If you really think about it, the Good Samaritan. Who's this Good Samaritan? Now, if you really, if we just go back a little bit and then we really think about it, in the Jewish society, the priest, the Levites, those were the people that were closest to God. If you really think about it, the priest was like the guy who could go into the Holy of Holies, and then the Levites were the people that were selected by God to be serving in the temple. So if you really think about it, the priests, the Levites, those were the people that were considered to be closest to God. And yet, at this time, those very same people were not able to help you and me. Those people were not able to go and assist this half dead guy. They just passed by on the other side. They both passed by on the other side. But now come to the one person who was able to be moved with compassion for you, for me, while we are half dead, beaten by robbers. Robbers, you could literally, it's just the devil, really. We're beaten and we're half dead. We needed someone to help us. But these other people that we expected to help us were not able to do it. But it was only one man. And guess who that is? The Samaritan. The Good Samaritan represents Jesus in this story. So now, this Good Samaritan now comes, and not only does he not pass on the other side, he comes to where you are. He comes to where the guy was, because this guy was not able to move. He was half dead. So there was no way he could go to the Samaritan and ask for help. The Samaritan is the one who came to where he was. Every other, the Levite, the priest, the passed by on the other side. But this guy came to where he was. Just like how God comes to where we are. We can never say in and of ourselves that we have earned God's blessing or we have earned anything, really earned salvation. Nothing. It's Him who comes to where we are. That's why He says that He has chosen us and He has called us. So, really, if you think about it, the Samaritan came to where this dead guy was, half dead guy, and then he bandaged him. He says, but a Samaritan who was traveling came upon him, and when he saw him, he was deeply moved with compassion for him, just like how Jesus was moved with compassion. I mean, he was God and he was God's son, and he could literally just stay there and continue to be God and continue to enjoy his privileges, but he decided to come down to earth and be like a man, a mere man. Imagine if you're God and you have all the power, and all of a sudden now you're like becoming an ant. You decide as a man, I'm going to be an ant and go save those ants. It's because of his compassion, because of his love, and it's so passionate and so great, and it's really awesome. Really, we don't deserve it, but he just did it by himself, and we didn't even ask him. We didn't even ask him, and he came, and he says it went to him and bandaged up his wounds, pouring oil and wine on them to soothe and disinfect the injuries. And he put him on his pack animal. This is just even an illustration of the fact that he he had a place of honor. Christ had a place of honor in front of God, and instead of continuing to be at that place, he went down and he humbled himself and he came down to earth. And then now he had us put in his own place of honor. So he says he put him on his own pack animal. So now, even when you hear that verse that says that, I've seen princes that are busy, they're walking on the ground while the slaves are riding on horses. This is literally Jesus deciding to walk while we ride on his own animal, on his like we were put in his place of honor, his place of goodness, and then he's the one who's now walking. Instead of him being on the horse, instead of him being on his animal, he started to walk, and he put this stranger, this half dead person, on his own place. Imagine how great that is. It's so much compassion and love. And it says he brought him to an inn and took care of him. So now he even left even supplies for this innkeeper to take care of him. And now at the end, this is what really makes you realize that, it wasn't just uh, it wasn't about you loving your neighbor. It says that which of these three do you think proved himself a neighbor to the man who encountered the robbers? So, to the man who encountered the robbers, which is you and I, which of these three do you think proved himself a neighbor to that man? So, the person, so here it's in reference to the man who encountered the robbers. So, if it says now, and he answered the one who showed compassion and mercy to him, then Jesus said to him, go and constantly do the same. So what is he saying? go and love your neighbor. Because this guy had asked at first in the beginning that, who's my neighbor? Which neighbor should I love? And now the neighbor that Christ is referring to, fortunately, is himself. So he's saying, you are the man who was robbed, who was half dead. So the neighbor of these three that we have, the Levites, the priests, and the Samaritan, which, by the way, the Samaritan is not the one person. You really, the Jews didn't want to associate with Samaritans. But it says that the Samaritan is the neighbor. So instead of concentrating on the priests, on the Levites, love your neighbor. Who's your neighbor? Jesus. So Jesus is that Samaritan. So when you're being told, it's like he hides so many truths in many parables, and sometimes we don't know because we don't understand them, and we just go on and on. But really, what Jesus is saying is that you ought to love your neighbor. And who's your neighbor? Like this man asked. The neighbor is a Samaritan. And who's the Samaritan? The Samaritan is Jesus. So this is so wonderful and this is so exciting for me because I'm just like, okay, so this really, if you really think about it, we cannot go to where God is. He's the one who comes to where we are. And really, after he comes to where we are, we have no choice but to love him because he's the one who has shown us mercy. He's the one who's shown us compassion. And I mean, really, how easy is it to love someone when you realize just how good they have been to you? So I think what you just need to be focusing on is how good God has been, how good Jesus has been to you to come to where you are. Because all these other guys, we thought they were with God. But literally, when it came to the fact, they were part of the law, they were part of everything that had to do with the law, and the law couldn't save us. But it was only Christ who was able to come to where we are, where we were half dead and we didn't even know what was going on. Isn't that exciting? I'm so excited. I'm so happy that I'm this privileged. I mean, I haven't even done anything. I didn't even need to do anything. I was half dead. I didn't even know I needed saving. But this man came in his love and he just came and bandaged us and put us in his own place of honor. And then he went and he paid other people even to take care of us. Imagine, it's like you don't even know a man and then you just go out of your way to do good things for this person that you don't even know. And that's what Christ did. I mean, I wouldn't do it, but that's exactly what Christ did. And I'm so grateful. And I hope you guys are so encouraged as well that Christ is for us and he loves us. Amen. So I hope you guys are excited. And if you enjoyed this, just remember to share, to subscribe, and to just like this video. Right. I'll see you next time.